welcome once again to Let's Talk Etiquette, right here on Can TV 21. I am so excited to be back here with you today because we have an awesome subject. I really feel very strongly about this subject because this is something you're going to do every day for the remainder of your life. And I want to especially talk to the parents out there who are listening at this show. Your children need to know this discipline. The reason they do is because wherever they go in life, they're going to have to eat. And they're going to have to eat sometimes with very important people. And when that opportunity comes for them to eat with somebody very influential, they need to know this discipline. Now, I understand you go out there and you pay tons of money for them to play baseball. Pay a lot of money for them to go take hockey. You pay a lot of money for a lot of different disciplines. And yes, you want them to be an all-star basketball player or a football player or whatever, a golfer. You have to pay for that and you have to practice. There's no way you're going to be good at basketball if you don't practice. There's no way you're going to be a Tiger Woods if you don't practice. And you have to practice just like you do basketball. Every other day you have to practice. This discipline is just as important and you must practice because then it becomes normal. It becomes natural for you to do what you need to do at the dinner table. So this is going to be a very important lesson for you parents especially because now you have an opportunity to teach your child some of the fundamentals of fine dining. Now this is going to be a two-part session. The first one is going to be on table etiquette. There are two disciplines, table etiquette and dining etiquette. This show is going to be devoted to table etiquette and all the things that go and are involved with that particular discipline. So I had this big, large blow up so that I can show you the utensils in terms of how the table is set. But keep in mind, this is a discipline that you can't fake. I'll know, and other people will know if you know what you're doing. And you have to do it naturally and with poise and grace. So next week we're going to talk about dining etiquette. Today we're going to talk about table etiquette. And I want to start with a few things here, just some basics for you. This is a runner. And I'm sure you've seen this on tables before. It's got the little tassels on the end of it. This is something you simply put on your table to decorate your table. It's a decorative thing. This is all this represents. Okay? But it goes back about 300 years, this particular practice, using a runner. So do yourself a favor and buy you a few if you don't have them. Now, when it comes to table etiquette, you got two basic things to deal with. One of those are your napkins. Now, your napkins come in two sizes. You have a luncheon napkin and you have a dinner napkin. Now, make sure when you go buy napkins, you buy napkins for lunch and napkins for dinner. Okay? Now, I'm going to hold this napkin up here. This is a luncheon napkin. And it's about 15 inches in length, okay? This is a dinner napkin. And as you can see, when I hold the two up, the dinner napkin is much larger than the luncheon napkin. So you don't want to have dinner napkins at your lunch. People would know this is a dinner napkin. So make sure you purchase luncheon napkin, the smaller ones, and a dinner napkin. Now, what's important about your napkins is how you fold your napkins. There are all kinds of ways to fold a napkin, and you can simply purchase a book on napkin folding. So you don't have to really go through a lot to learn how to fold a napkin. There are some simple folds. I'll do one here, very simple. Over again, up, over again, and then you can stand the napkin up like that on the plate. Okay? Now, there are basically two places to place a napkin. You place the napkin on the plate if it's a formal dinner or formal luncheon. The napkin can be placed on the plate. But if it's an informal affair, lunch or dinner, then you simply place the napkin off to the left, to your far left. Okay? Now, this table setting is basically a European table setting. This is the table setting that came over with George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson and all those gentlemen that came over and started this country. Okay? And so what you're really looking at is a table set for to favor the left hand. Now, we don't think about it, but this is part of what you need to understand in order to understand table setting, okay, or table etiquette. The napkins, in this case, is on your left because it favors the left hand. Now, why do we favor the left hand as opposed to the right hand? Because most people are right-handed. But what the nobility decided to do about 600 years ago is to switch to left hand versus right hand because they know most of the peasants are right-handed. So a nobleman would understand how to eat with his left hand even though he may be right-handed. And so that was one of the requirements of the nobility to switch and put your forks on the left side and your knives and spoons on the right side. So that's a key thing to understand about the table setting. Why are the forks on the left and the knives and spoons on the right? Okay? So that's the basic fundamentals of how this particular setting was arranged and created. Okay? So now when you look at this table setting here, you will see your utensils, okay? And you see your glasses, you see your cup and saucer, okay? Over here you see a butter spreader with a butter plate, a bread plate, apologize about that. That's a bread plate with a butter spreader on it, okay? Now, why is it set that way? Who decided to set the table that way? And this is important because when you set your table, this is exactly how it should be set, whether you're in Chicago, in New York, or if you're living in Paris or London, this is how the table is set. You can be in the Far East. If they use utensils to dine with, then they're favoring the European style, which we eat European basically, but we did the zigzagging to eat American style, where you take the fork from the left hand and pass it to the right. Okay? That's just uniquely American. But if you want to eat like 90% of the people on the planet eat who does eat European style, then you want to be able to eat with your left hand, even if you are right-handed. Okay? So now, here's the science behind the table setting. It's a outside-in process. In other words, the first course, the second course, the third course, and the fourth course is going to come to you based on how the utensils are placed on the table. Okay? Now, always remember, when you're setting your table, make sure you have the blades of the knives facing into the plate. Now, the reason that come about 400 years ago was that when the noblemen had their dinner parties, everybody had knives. They had a knife in their boot. They had a knife on their side. Some had long knives and some had little knives. So in order to not offend your guests, you would turn the blade of the knife in as opposed to the blade being out. Because in reality, it actually happened where a knife was picked up from the table and another nobleman was stabbed with that knife. Okay, so now this is why the knife of the blade is facing towards the plate. A little thing, not very important in the scheme of things, but I want you to know why the knives are facing the plate. This is a discipline. We normally get paid $400 or $500 just for one session because people want to know and they don't know. There's so much ignorance when it comes to dining. You just will not believe it. You would not believe it. So back to the table setting. Okay? Now remember, I said your first course, you start from the out and you work your way in. Okay? So the first course here would be what? Based on the way the table is set, the utensils are placed, the first course would be your salad. Why? Because the salad fork is all the way out at the far end on the left side. Now, how do you identify the salad fork versus the dinner fork? The salad fork tines are smaller or shorter than the dinner fork. So you know not to pick up that fork because that's your dinner fork. You have to pick up your salad fork, which is the furthest out. So here's the thing with table etiquette. Once you know it and understand it, you can read the table before you actually take your seat, and you know what course is first, what's the second course, the third, and the fourth, and so on. Okay? That's the science of it because you have been taught table etiquette. Okay? So now you see that the first course is going to be salad, and the second course is going to be what? Soup. Okay? Now you know that because the soup spoon is right here. This spoon out here is your tea or coffee spoon. Now that spoon is on the far right side because you may start, this is informal, you may start by having coffee or tea. So this spoon is here so you can stir your tea or your coffee, right? If it's informal, it's okay. You may have the tea in a teapot on the table because it's informal. Okay, no one's going to be serving you, pouring you tea or coffee. Okay. So the next is, like I said, would be soup. That would be your second course. Now there are two kinds of soup spoons. There's a cream soup spoon and a regular soup spoon. Next week, when I come back, I'm going to have actual utensils to show you, okay, how you eat with the difference of the two spoons, okay? But there are two basic soup spoons, and you will see the difference when we return next Wednesday, okay? Okay, so you know soup is second, salad was first, soup was second. Now the third course, okay, would be your main entree. All right. Now, as you see here, you have two knives, right? Now, remember, the whole process is based on size. Over here, you see the salad fork is smaller than the dinner fork. Over here, you see the dinner knife is larger than the salad knife. In this case, you have a salad knife to go with your salad fork. Why is that important? Because what happens is you end up using your dinner fork to eat your salad, and you mix the two because there's dressing on your dinner fork. Okay, so this is why we have two separate utensils: one specifically for salad, a salad fork, and a salad knife. You don't want your dinner knife soiled with dressing. Okay, to go into eating your peas or beans or steak or fish or whatever you're eating, okay? Or whatever the meat is you're going to be eating, right? Okay, so now the salad knife is here, blade facing in, and the salad fork is over to the far left, okay? So once these two utensils are used, then the next course is going to be your main entree. That's your potatoes and meatballs, whatever you're going to have on that plate. Okay? Now, moving up here, you will see two utensils. Now, if you look closely at those two utensils, one is a fork and the other is a spoon. Those two are for your dessert. Now, the reason you see a fork and a spoon is because you may have a dessert that has ice cream in it, or it may have some whatever that's in it that may be mixed with it, cake or whatever, pie, you have a choice now of whether you want to use a fork to eat that with or a spoon. So this is why you see two utensils at the top of the plate. Now take note of how these utensils are set. Then you notice that the fork handle of the fork is facing to the left. The tines of the fork is facing to the right. Okay, now the reason for that, this is important. The reason for that is because you're to eat with your left hand. Your fork is to always be in your left hand, not in your right. Unless you're going to eat American style, where you would switch the fork from the left hand into the right hand. Now, we're the only people on the planet that eat that way. If you go to Canada, you go to Paris, you go to London, you go to Africa, you go to Far East, if they're eating European style, the tines of that fork is going to always be down and not up. But what we do here, we pick the fork up with our left hand, pass it to our right hand. I'll demonstrate next week for you. But that's only a small percentage of the people on the planet does that. 99% of the people on the planet eats European style. So get accustomed to eating with your left hand because it's at another level of understanding, of intelligence, because you're eating with your left hand, even though you may be right. And this is where the practice comes in. You can't fake this. People who know. You don't know. Okay, so if you want to be at that level, we got levels in this country. We got lower class, we got middle class, we got all kinds of upper class, affluent class. We got all kinds of classes that you are relegated to based on your knowledge, and especially of dining, because this is something you're going to do every day. So these are the skills you need to know, and that you can't hide and you can't fake it. Okay? So that's why this is such an important discipline to practice. And yes, you need to practice. Parents need to practice. Teach their children, but they need to know how to master it so they can teach their children. This is an important international discipline. And this is what people do all over the world. Okay? All right, back to the utensils. Now, if you notice the fork is facing to the right, the tines on facing to the right, and the handle is facing to the left. The reason for that is because the fork is supposed to be in your left hand. Those forks over there are in your left hand. That fork up there is in your left hand. You can't pick it up with your right hand this way, as you can see. You have to use your left hand to pick that fork up. So when you're setting your table, make sure you got this clear and understood. This is important because as soon as someone who do know come to your home for dinner and they see you have those utensils in the incorrect place, they're going to know you don't know. You just pretending. Okay? Master this. It's worth doing. So now the spoon, if you notice, is the handle is facing just the opposite. And the reason for that is because spoons are supposed to be in the right hand and not in the left. So the handle of that spoon is facing so that you can pick it up with your right hand. Okay? Now this has all been well thought through over hundreds of years. This has been just articulated in every other way you can imagine. It's been articulated. Okay? So now let's move on to that plate over there. That's called your bread plate, and that little knife is called your butter spreader. Now if you notice the way that knife is placed on the plate, the blade is down, the handle is so that, as you're supposed to do, put knives in your right hand so you can only pick that up with your right hand. If it was faced the other way, you could technically think it's okay to pick it up with your left hand. So that's an important thing when you're setting your table, that little knife there is in the proper position. And you do need, if you want to train your children, it's not about how much money you have. It's about your intellect and about understanding this is a very important discipline, and your children need to know it like the back of their hand. Because this is going to take them places you can't even imagine. Just this little skill set. They're going to be just, people are going to say, where did it come from? Wow, I'm very impressed. Okay? And they're impressed because this is something they don't think the average, you know, person's supposed to know. Because they keep it a secret. You're not supposed to know this. That's why they're feeding you out of bags and boxes and eating with plastic spoons and forks, right? Yeah. What is this for you? You're not supposed to know any of this. So this is why it's important that you learn as a parent, as an adult, and teach it to your children. Okay. Now, as we move on here, I'm going to talk about the glasses here. Okay. You see 4 different glasses. So what is all them glasses for? You don't need but one glass to drink some water. Why do you need all these other glasses? Okay? And they have a purpose. Each of the glasses tells you what type of beverage you're going to be served. Okay? Now, if water is the only thing you're going to be served, then it's just water. You can have that one glass there. If that's all you serve in your guest is water, right? But what about some other kinds of beverages? Say it's a dinner party you're having, and maybe it's for a birthday, and someone is going to be toasted. You know, happy birthday. Then you give a toast to this individual, right? All right. So this glass, this is your water goblet, not a water glass, a water goblet. And the reason it's a goblet is because it has a base to it, right there. A regular water glass would not have this little item on the bottom of it. Okay. So next to it is a champagne flute. So when I come to the table, I know now immediately, I would know probably before I got to the table simply because I'll know what the affair is all about and why I'm invited to this dinner. Okay, knowing that would tell me that there's going to be a toast to someone. And that's just why this glass is here. And it's called a champagne flute. Okay? So next to the champagne flute is 2 more glasses. Why all these glasses? I mean, what am I going to be drinking that I need 4 glasses for, right? All right, the next glass is a larger one. That's for red wine. Red wine. And the one that's next to that one is a smaller one. That's for white wine. So yeah, why am I drinking all this wine? They got red wine, white wine. What's that all about? Okay? It's very simple. The wine glasses tell you what type of meat is going to be served to you. If it's red meat, then you're going to be drinking red wine. If it's white meat, you're going to be drinking white wine. And if you're going to get both of the same, some red meat and some white meat, then you may have both glasses there. So when you're eating the red meat, you're drinking red wine with it. Okay? I know, it's just it's why we got to go through all this, right? Money, influence, stature, reputation. That's why you have to go through all this. It's part of the system. We didn't create it, we didn't make it up, but it's part of the system. And to honor the system, you have to learn certain things, how to tie a Windsor knot, half Windsor, or how to tie a bow tie. You see, there's a reason for that. And so you have to, accordingly, you have to go with what the system is, the style is, the culture is in this society. Okay? Like having a dinner jacket on. Certain events you can't go to without a dinner jacket. You can't come in there with sneakers on. Okay? It's inappropriate because the invitation you received told you a few things that you should adhere to. All right? That makes sense? All right. Moving on. So now you understand what all 4 glasses are. Water goblet, champagne flute, red wine, white wine. And then, of course, coffee or tea. Now, a little thing that some people may do, or some ladies of a house may do, she may turn her cup down. If you come to the table and the cup is turned down, she's telling you that coffee will be served with dessert. So you don't go to home and say, may I have some coffee? Because now you know that you're not going to be served coffee until the dessert is served. Okay? Now people go out to these functions and they see the cup turned down and they turn the cup. Ma'am, can I get some coffee? Well, that tells you they accommodate you. Sure, sir. You go to the Hilton or the Hyatt, they'll come over and bring you some coffee or tea. But the reason they turned the cup down is because they're going to serve you coffee or tea when they bring the dessert out. And of course, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. Right? So, ma'am, would you come over? I need some coffee. I just got to have some coffee right now. Okay? So they accept that because some people don't know. So when that cup is turned down, that's what they're telling you. If that cup is turned up, then you can have coffee at any time, you so desire. In fact, they'll start almost immediately. Before they serve the first course, they'll come over and ask you, would you like to have coffee or tea? And then you can tell them what you like to have, right? All right, moving along. Back to the soup spoon. I'm going to bring next week 2 different kinds of soup spoons. One is called a cream soup spoon, and the other one is called a regular soup spoon. This is a regular soup spoon. The other spoon is a rounder with a deeper bowl soup spoon. And what does that tell you? That tells you what kind of soup you're going to be served. But also, when you see the cream soup spoon, there's a way to eat with that spoon, which I'll demonstrate next week, how to eat with the cream soup spoon as opposed to eating with the regular soup spoon. Now, that's about some serious sophistication. And when they see you eat differently with that cream soup spoon, they're going to know you know. They're going to know you know and you've been educated. And you're not faking or pretending or watching other people see what they're doing. Okay? This is something that you can learn because it's not hidden. It may be hidden from your mind because no one brings it up until you're at the table and you think about it. Oh, I better see what I'm going to do. I got to watch see what other people do. And they don't know, so they could be doing it just as worse than you would do it if you just went on your own and did it. Okay? So, now, moving forward on this table setting here, I want to mention up here, this little item here, 90% of people do not know what it is. I would actually believe that 90% of the people in this society do not know what that little small little container with that little tiny, if you look closely, it's a little tiny spoon inside of that container. Okay? And of course you know what this is, obviously. It looks like a pepper shaker or a salt shaker. Okay? And you're right, it is. This in this case would be a pepper shaker. Okay? Because this little tiny spoon in that little bowl there is called a salt cellar with a salt spoon. Now you said, now why we got to go through all that with a tiny spoon and sprinkling my salt over there? Why is that necessary? Give me a salt shaker. Do my thing, right? But see, this is class. This is class, and class is generally money. Class and wealth, right? So you want to be among the wealthy class, you have to do or should do as the wealthy does. Now the wealthy is not against basketball. They are on all the basketball teams, so you know they're not opposed to basketball. But you're gonna have to learn how to play golf, right? Just as simple as that. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up with that. Hope you got a good lesson from it. I haven't did this kind of a class since before the pandemic, right? So I'm a little rusty at it myself. But again, my name is Nathan Wright. I'm with the Etiquette Foundation of Illinois. And thank you so much for paying attention. And I will see you next Wednesday with dining etiquette. Bye-bye.